Screenplay competitions, are they worth it? Or are they just after your money? How's it? This is Chop, Screenplay Prep, and I want to talk to you briefly about the merits of screenplay competitions. There are many available online, and of course you may also see them advertised locally in your area, but are they really worth it? Is it something that gets your screenplay where you want it to be? Ultimately, which is in the cinema, I would hope. There's no clear-cut answer, as it depends really what you are after. A screenplay competition, just at its basic level, regardless of which country or under what authority it is, can bring you a sense of ego. It can give you that feeling that you've taken your screenplay to the next step in giving it to other people to read. It's giving other eyes on your words. And feedback, assuming you get feedback, can be worthwhile. However, you do need to take that with a pinch of salt. You need to scrutinize who's the panel. So let's think about a local town screenplay competition whereby effectively it's probably going to be made up of a panel of film enthusiasts and not exactly going to be full of Hollywood executives and producers. So the point being is that the eye that'll be reading your screenplay won't necessarily have industry knowledge and therefore give you worthwhile feedback. If you've got 50 submissions to a little small town film festival screenplay competition, you're going to get a result which is the best of the 50. Now imagine it was 50 terrible screenplays. Now, because one of them wins, does that make a screenplay worth sending to Hollywood? So that's one thing to keep in mind. Secondly, if all you're getting is a first, second, third place, or maybe feedback that someone says, I loved your story, does that help your screenwriting career? Potentially not. Now, the big thing to think about is cost. Is it worth spending money on screenplay competitions? Now, I would argue it is worth spending money, as long as it's not hundreds of dollars, on a screenplay competition that is renowned. So you would be looking at the Final Draft Big Break Contest, or the Nickel Fellowship, or the Atlanta or Austin film festivals. Those are very well-known screenplay competitions which have been established for quite a while. They do have entry fees, but they are not steep. And the key point here is these are bigger events, therefore the people involved are going to be closer to the industry. And you'll find, particularly with the Nickel Fellowship and the Final Draft Big Break, but potentially also the Austin and Atlanta film festivals, that there's a lot of eyes on it from the industries. So Hollywood executives will be sending their producers, studio representatives, readers, all sorts, will be casting an eye either on the panel of screenplay readers or indeed looking at the results. So if your screenplay ends up getting in the top 10, for example, it's quite likely that it's going to be seen by worthwhile Hollywood people. And interest in your screenplay can only be beneficial. If you submit to multiple competitions, then there's always a chance that the readers are going to possibly working across the competitions, but certainly if your screenplay pokes its head up multiple times, there's more of a chance that people are going to go, oh my goodness, this is Brad's screenplay about the thing where they go to Mars. This is fantastic. Depending on your story, obviously, as long as it's good, word of mouth is fantastic. It's the best vehicle anyone can have in the arts industry. So I do support entering into the 4 main competitions. Of course, if you live in other countries, any of the premier competitions in those countries, usually attached to a film festival, are very much worth it. So you've got Sundance and Cannes film festivals as well. The key thing is to know really who's on the panel, who's judging, and are they from worthwhile and known production companies or agencies. It's all very well Tim or Bob being mentioned as people on the panel from Frivolous Pictures and Towel Ink Productions. But who are those companies? What have they produced? So it's worth doing your own research. One thing to note is that if you do enter and they're asking for hundreds of dollars, then I would really scrutinize who you're parting money to. And it's the same with when your screenplay gets picked up through a query letter and you get some agency knocking on your email door and saying, "We love your screenplay, please send us $400. You've got to be very careful. Ultimately, when your screenplay gets to the point of potential representation, they should be offering you money. You shouldn't be paying them. And therefore, that is when you do your research and find out who these people are. So don't get carried away with, someone loves me, I'll give them all the money, that it'll take to get my movie made. Just be careful. But rather than just sitting in your hands and perhaps just relying on the query letters, for the sake of $50 or $60, enter it into Final Draft, big break contest, or the Nickel Fellowship, which usually runs I think it's May, June. That'll just maximize your chances and give you a sense of getting a screenplay, off your computer and in front of someone else's eyes. You can pay extra for feedback in some of the competitions. If you're a new writer, that could be worth it as an extra. It can cost an extra $50 to $100, I believe, but could be worth it. And if anything, just to see the kind of feedback you're getting, and then you can always ratify that. You can come through to a screenplay service and then reveal that feedback you've got from the competition and go through it and just see if it's really valid and does it essentially boost your screenwriting capabilities as much as fix anything relevant for that particular screenplay. I hope that was useful to you. Leave any comments below and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. If you found that video useful, please consider liking and subscribing. That will tell YouTube that I'm worth watching and ensures I can produce more educational content into the future.